In this video, I will definitively connect Harpocrates to Helios, the Greek sun god. But first, I want you to know that Isis is the whore that rides the beast. And it is not just some crazy Christian prophecy, but it is part of the greater Western culture, the core of Western culture, the reproductive activities on the highest level. She represents the most attractive of women because of their relationship with the martial arts structures of old. They have the genetics that reflect the most desirable physical traits and features. She basically sleeps with people that she's not supposed to, elitists. She basically whores herself as part of the ritual activities. They need attractive women, and they are the women that most embody Isis, you know, their breasts, their curves, their butt, and so on. Okay, this is why the followers of Pan are said to say the buttocks of Horus is preferred to the lips of Isis. They're talking about abusing the martial art order, including baby Harpocrates himself. I'll prove it definitively in this video. First of all, I want you to ask yourself, what should one do in this situation when the most attractive people of your races, of your countries, of your families will be whores beyond any doubt? And the operation, the process of making them whores is a sophisticated and complex one that they are dumbed down and kept from being consciously aware of. But certainly the signs are right there in plain view. Certainly all of us, to some degree, have our reproduction controlled. And if you do not dedicate your life to resisting as uncontrolled opposition, certainly you suffer. Now let's look at this in terms of whore, and horse, right? Whore meaning face, whore and horse, right? So she has the face of an attractive female who's been made a whore. She has certain martial arts attributes about her that have enabled her, when she works out especially, to take on a certain form. And that brings us back to the very definition of the word martial. We get Mara, horse, right? The cherry and chariot, popping her cherry, right? Mara, horse, plus scale C, servant. Who's the servant? Well, the people in charge are serving ideas, like Helios, who rides his golden chariot across the sky. Okay, they are slaves to their lust and desire, their lust for power, and they are quite despicable. And it is rather unfortunate and extremely detestable, particularly despicable, that people look up to people like those, like these cowards I'm describing, instead of heroes such as myself, as I am at a loss for other examples. To bring together an order in an appropriate or effective way, to place in proper rank or position. This is what it means to martial. Right? This is the main idea of martial arts. It's not just training people. It is training them for the battlefield, ordering society in a way that is effective to make your civilization an effective and sustainable military, political, social, economic, and spiritual force. A person who arranges and directs the ceremonial aspects of a gathering. To lead ceremoniously or official. To take form or order. Okay? So when we look at the different deities, Mars, Athena, okay, Jupiter, Juno, okay, these are different deities that are ordering society and creating a certain form of society, because the elite of that society, the corporations, remember corpse means body, are basically slaves to their lust and greed. It also goes back to the word fair. Basically fair, when you do the proper wordplay, vowel, interchangeable vowels, raw if, right? It goes back to who's in charge. A charge being more effectively led by a cavalry, right? And that goes back to the wordplay sel, vi, ra. It goes back to the wordplay demos, meaning peasant, demon, domain, dominion, dominate, demonstration. Why are these words being used? Because these are basically people who used to be craftsmen and peasants who basically cheated, lied, stole, understood things, how they work as scribes, and basically poisoned and did horrible things until their families overthrew the patriarchal families that were there before. And over time, we see the LGBT community and women earning positions in Skull and Bones, in Bilderberg, in Trilateral Commission. It goes back to lateral movements of martial arts that we see in specific groups of people the followers of Ra and Haru having the greatest embodiment of these particular movements that allow for more effective and efficient and deadly martial arts tactics designed for warfare and not for cage fighting, etc. So let us start with Helios. Helios, Latinized, is Helios, Helius. Goes back to the wordplay, right? There's Greek, there's Latin, there's Sanskrit, there's all kinds of words that change vowels in a certain way, change consonants, and it makes it very clear that the interchangeable vowel concept is legitimate. Morphology, right, to take form. Why martial arts goes back to the cults, the religions are a reaction to the natural martial arts structure of the world, and mages basically took over. So basically, Helios is the son of the Titan Hyperion, right? A hyper masculine, and the Titaness Thea, according to Hesiod, as the personification of the sun. And the Titaness Thea was also referred to as Uri Phasa, Uri phase A. Okay, Uri phase A. Brother of Silian, the moon, and Eos the dawn. I'd like to add at this point that these people can't accomplish what they set out to do. They're just basically full of lust. You cannot sleep with a whore who's been tricked into sleeping with people for money, which is outside of the divine order and has nothing to do with the perspective of Ra, only the flesh that he has produced, the shadows of the wall in Plato's cave, Pluto, the imprint, the footprint of Bigfoot or something, saying that you understand him by stepping in his footprint. It is stupid. You are not in the spirit. You will never understand. You should step down immediately and let me take my rightful place. Moving on. So he's the brother of Selene, the moon, Selene, right? Sel-N-E, who was also in the story of Pan, in one of his stories, tricked by Pan into sleeping with this despicable, goat-fucking, child-raping beast. And this absolutely has everything to do with pedophilia, and we'll get into that when we talk about Harpocrates momentarily. His symbols are the chariot, the horse, remember martial art, right? Martial, horse, scale C, right? Mara means horse, okay? It goes back to Mar, okay? Mars, okay? Nar, Mare, Maria, Mary, right? Take off the M, you get Ari, and so on. So the symbols of the chariot, horse, Aurelio, A-U-R-E-O-L-E, Aureli, rooster, right? Rooster in the morning, the crow, and also has sexual connotations. Incense also has sexual and kind of new age pagan connotations. Heliotrope and sunflower. The concerts are many, including Percy, Rhodos, goes Cecil Rhodes, Rhodes Scholarships, where we have the statue, I believe, of Pan in the Rhodes Museum. Clymene, Clytia, and Lycothea. And children are many, including the charities, remember, to do charity, right? A chore. Phaeton, whose key, we'll get to that momentarily. The Horae, Ates, Circe, where we get the word church, kirk, Circe, church, wordplay. Puris, pacify, and that goes back to Crete, homosexuality. King Minos, said to be the founder of homosexuality. Circe, the island of Crete. Okay, pacify, to pacify someone, baby having a pacifier. Helides, okay, Phaethusa, and Lemitia. Okay, and it goes back to Hell being in charge of the fallen, the Hellenistic era, and we'll get to that momentarily. The Roman equivalent is soul. So the very idea of soul obviously is related to this kind of scrambling and this mixture, this twisting, this role reversal. We'll get into how Saturn is the god of role reversal and how he relates to the sun momentarily. Hinduism, Surya, said to be riding a golden chariot, drawn, right, to draw on something, to channel something, right? The golden chariot is drawn by steeds. Later they are given fire-related names, Pyrios, Eos, Aethon, and Philegon. And this also has to do with Prometheus and the prophet Zoroaster and alchemy in general, where we have the fire, stealing the fire from the gods, okay? Fire instead of the true sun spirit of Ra, they use fire. Okay, so, and it goes back to the fire in the hearts and the minds and the bellies of men instead of the martial arts spirit of Ra. Okay, Norse, also sun in Norse is soul, just like in Latin. In Sanskrit, it's Surya. Okay, it goes back to serpent, right? Osiris, and so on. Okay, Old English, Swagel, and Helsh, it's hall. Okay, to haul something, right? The horses, the servants, the scale C, right? Mara, scale C, marshal, right? The name Helen is thought to share this etymology. The Greek sun gods' female offspring are Heliades. So when we talk about Helen of Troy, L on, right? The H is the fence, Old English TH, of Troy, okay? Ray, or of Ray. So El-On, the Lord of On, his reproductive cycle, the Lord of Ra, one of his rays, his offspring, right? They also refer to the rays as fire darts. So moving on. Remember, in Igbo culture, Chukwu is the supreme god represented by the sun. A chi is a spiritual being as opposed to the chi in Eastern, which is the energy flowing through the body. The Uku is great in size. Helios, Apollo, Uso, Harpocrates. Okay, there's connections here. I don't have time in this video. We'll get into the next video. Basically, Phaeton is said to be the son of Helios. Okay, he's called the Radiant. Hekatos, far shooter of Apollo. Also Hecate, Bolos. So we have the deity, the witch deity, Hecate, and we have Bo, Bel, Baal, and the O's, the reproductive cycle, the sun cycle. Okay, and the reaction to the sun cycle. The sun rays considered as arrows, going back to the arrow Chukwu of the Igbo culture and the slave trade. We don't have time to get into that. Diodorus Siculus of Sicily reported that Chaldeans, right, Abraham of Ur or Chaldea, called Kronos, who was Saturn, by the name Helios, or the sun, and explained that this was because Saturn was the most conspicuous of the planets. When you do your research, you see that the Jews from Chaldea in Babylon, in Ur, okay, where Abraham comes from, were reacting to the martial arts order, and it goes back to the mystery of Melchizedek and what it was really about. Helios son, Phaeton, Fate hone on, fat e hone on, hone in, attempted to drive his father's chariot, and he lost control, setting the earth on fire. Zeus saves all the mortals by killing him with a thunderbolt instantly. This goes back to the Bible saying the devil, Lucifer, was cast out of heaven with a flash of lightning. So basically, Phaeton was going to bring the true spirit of the sun to earth. And Zeus, who's the upholder of the rape, illusion, mage system of the West, right? The main deity in the Capitoline triad, his counterpart, his Roman equivalent, Jupiter, okay? Which goes back to the new Capitoline triad with Jupiter, Juno, and their daughter Minerva, the patron of chemistry, okay? And my nerve, and so on and so forth. All right. So the epithet, okay, Panoptes, the all-seeing. We'll get into that later, right? It has everything to do with the all-seeing eye, okay? So you have the sun, Helios. You have the moon, his sister Selene, and all the sexual immorality going on. We have a prostitution ring of the elite, and this leads us to Harpocrates, who is also called Hope. It goes back to Pandora's box. Keep hope in the box. Keep the secret from coming out. We'll get to that momentarily. He is a god of science, secrets, and confidentiality in the Hellenistic religion, developed in Ptolemaic Alexandria as the embodiment of hope, according to Plutarch. Plutarch is key, and it goes back to Plato, right? Play, ark, right? Monarch, the ark of Narmer, coming down to smash his enemy. Okay. Harpocrates was adapted for a whore, gender neutral Greek sex cult game adopted by the Romans, thus the entire West, as Rome stretched into Northern Europe, into the island of England, into the UK. Okay. Modern occultists, Scotland. So modern occultists display his image loosely connected with Hermetic Gnosticism. Harpocrates is the babe in the egg of the blue that sits upon the lotus flower in the Nile. He is said to represent the higher self and be the holy guardian angel. Adapted from Aleister Crowley's Magic. Magic, backwards wordplay applied, is Cage A. Okay, keep the secret from coming out. Keep what happens to little boys from coming out into the mainstream, to abuse women, and it goes back to Hollywood, whole E wood. Oh, having a wood, right? The oak trees, the palm trees, okay? These are significant to the martial arts structure and so on and so forth, and to the Druids and so on. Okay, so Isis is the whore. So when we see the wordplay on the, basically the whore eyes, Horus, right? Whore is, because Harpocrates is a kind of Hellenistic, it's a Greek version of Horus. So just shoot through this amount of time. Discordians consider, right, discord, right, that there's a deity of discord. Consider Harpo to have been a contemporary avatar of his. They often invoke him as a trickster god or god of humor, in addition to his classical attribute as god of sounds. Roses are a symbol of him used in rooms to receive guests to symbolize silence. So Marx, communism is also part of this.